Hello everyone, welcome back to the Python programming lecture. In today's session, we are going to learn one of the most important concepts in Python programming, functions. Functions are the building blocks of clean and organized programs. When we write small programs, we can directly write all the statements one after another. But when programs become bigger, managing thousands of lines of code becomes difficult. That is where functions help us. A function allows us to divide our program into smaller and meaningful parts. Instead of writing the same logic again and again, we can write it once inside a function and reuse it whenever required. So in this lecture, we will understand what functions are, why we use functions, how to create and call functions, type of functions in Python, parameters and arguments, different types of arguments, return statements, type conversion, and later we will connect functions with recursion. So let's start with the basic question. What is a function? A function is a name of block of code. A function is a second type is keyword arguments. In keyword arguments, instead of depending on position, we specify the parameter name while passing values. Okay, so here you can see the example. For example, power exponent is equal to 3, base is equal to 2. Here we are clearly telling Python the value 3 belongs to exponent, the value 2 belongs to base. The order does not matter because we are using parameter names. Okay, so keyword arguments improve readability. When functions have many parameters, keyword arguments make the code easier to understand. For example, uh, how should I tell you? Okay, leave. Okay, so you guys can check the PPTs and have a look on it. Okay, have a look on it. So okay, I'm giving you guys time. So the third type is default arguments. Sometimes a function has a value that is commonly used. Instead of passing that value every time, we can provide a default value. Okay, so here you can see the example. Define greet name is equal to student. Here we have given a default value to a name. Now if we call, here you can see where is the cursor, okay, here if greet, okay, Python uses the default value, output will be hello student, okay. But if we call greet Maya, okay, here greet Maya, the Python replaces the default value and the output will hello Maya. So default arguments make parameters optional. They are useful when we have a common value but still want the option to change it. Okay, so best practices for arguments. Okay, so while creating functions, we should follow some good practices. First, keep non-default parameters before default parameters. Okay, for examples, def student name, comma, age is equal to 20. Here name is required and age has a default value. Second, use keyword arguments when functions have many parameters. It improves readability and reduces confusion. Okay, so now now let's understand another very important concept, difference between print and return. Many beginners think both are the same because both can show values, but they are completely different. Print. The print function, okay, the print function displays something on the screen. It is mainly used for showing messages, debugging, displaying output to users. For example, like print hello. This simply displays hello. After printing, the value is not stored anywhere. Okay, so talking about return, the return statement sends a value back from a function to the place where the function was called. For example, here you can see that define add a comma b, return a plus b. Okay, so sum add 3 comma 4, print some values. So here the function calculates and sends 7 back. The value can then be stored inside the variable result. Okay, so so you might have a question, right? Why return is important? Returns makes function reusable. Okay, suppose we only print the answer inside the function, then we can see the output but we cannot use that value later. But with return we can store the result, perform more calculations, pass to it another function. That is why in programming we usually prefer return for calculations. Use print when you only want to display something. Use return when you want to send data back. Okay, so have a look on the screen, and if you guys have any doubt, then comment. And also, functions without return. If a function does not have a return statement, Python automatically returns. For example, like message parenthesis colon print hello. This function displays the message but it does not return any value. The returned value is none. Okay. Okay, now let's move to the another important topic, type conversion. In Python, different types of data exist. Okay, for example, integers, float, string. Sometimes we need to convert one data type into another. This process is called type conversion or casting. Okay, so why type conversion is needed? Type conversion is needed when we work with different data types together. A very common example is user input. When we take input from the user using input, Python receives it as a string. Okay, wait. Okay, so it receives it as a string. For example, age is equal to input, enter your age. Even if the user enters 20, Python store it as 20, which is a string. If we want to perform mathematical operations, we need to convert it into an integer. Okay, so types of conversion. Implicit conversions happen automatically by Python, and Python converts one data type into another when it is safe. Example, suppose we had an integer and a float. Integer is 5 and float is 2.5. Okay, so Python automatically converts the integer into float. The result becomes 7.5 because Python wants to avoid losing information. Okay, so second type of conversion is explicit conversion. So it is done manually by the programmer. We use functions like int, okay, here int, float, string, list, etc. Okay, so let's see the example. So here we have converted string into int. Okay, so now here num becomes 12. Okay, here you can see 12 int. Okay, so string to float. Okay, here you can see. So the number, so the value becomes a floating point number. Okay, here we have converted integer to string. Now the number becomes 100, which is a string. Okay, so conversion errors. Okay, so sometimes conversion is not possible. For example, I'm giving you int parenthesis and hello. Print cannot convert the word hello into a number. This creates an error called value error. In real applications, we handle such situations using error handling techniques like try except. Okay, so have a look on this PPT. Okay, so now let's understand the math module. Okay, Python provides a module called math. A module is a collection of functions that we can import and use. The math module provides many mathematical operations. Okay, so first we import math. Now we can access mathematical functions. Okay, so here you can see the example. The function math dot square is used to find the square root. Okay, so here the result is, just wait. Okay, oh here, see, x is equal to 16, so 4 4 square is 16. Okay, power function. Okay, the function math dot power is used for calculating powers. Example, here you can see it's 8. Okay, so 2 raised to the power 3. Okay, so result is 8. The math module also provides rounding functions. Okay, here you can see seal. Okay, seal means rounding upward. Okay, for example, you have seen here 2 comma 2.3. So output will return 3 because it moves to the next highest integer. Okay, and floor means rounding downward. Example, math.floor 2.8. Okay, so the output will return us 2 because it moves to the lower integer. Okay, so common uses of math module. The math module is useful for square roots. Where is the cursor? Okay. Square roots, power, rounding, trigonometric calculations, mathematical constants like pi, e. When we need advanced mathematical operations, we use the math module. For simple operations, Python's built-in functions are enough. So here are the practice questions. Let's quickly discuss some practice problems. Okay. So the first question is, create a function is even. The purpose is to check whether a number is even or not. The function should return true if number is divisible by 2. Otherwise it should return false. Okay, so you guys have to do it by yourself. Okay, I'm not going to do this all questions. Okay, so number 2, create convert underscore and a string b string that converts two numeric strings to ends and returns their sum. Handle invalid input gracefully. Okay, here the input are strings. We need to convert them into integers and then add them. Okay. Okay, so problem number 3. Implement with a function compound interest principal rate years that returns final amount using math power. So here create a function compound interest principal comma rate comma years. This function calculates final amount using the mathematical formula. The math.power function can be used for power calculation. Okay, so number 4 question. Explain with code difference between a function that prints a result versus returns it. Give an example. So understand the difference between printing and returning. A function that prints only displays the value. A function that returns gives the value back, and so it can be reused. Okay. Okay, so coming to the next question, create a lambda that squares a number and use it in a list map to transform 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4. Okay, so here you have to create a function lambda function to square numbers. For example, transform 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 into their squares. So in this section we learned how arguments work, different arguments types, difference between print and return, type conversion, math module usage. Functions are extremely important because they make our programs reusable and organized. In the next section, we will connect functions with one of the most interesting concepts in programming, recursion. We will understand how a function can call itself, how the call stack works, how the problems like factorial and Fibonacci are solved using recursion.